Erev Tov, everyone. Erev Tov. It is Monday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the east side of the United States, here in the diaspora, on lockdown. Yeah, on lockdown. This is the House of Seven Beggars. Therefore, it must be Zeyde's Story Corner. That's right, Zeyde's Story Corner. Okay, so yeah, a lot of craziness going on out in the world today. So let us see who we have in the chat room. Not that we're comparing them to crazy or anything like that. So we have Miriam, we have Kat and David, Veronica, Kelsey Lynn, Donald, and more to come. Yeah, more to come. Okay, so we have been reading the. I have a question. You have a question? Yes, I have a question. Yeah. Well, okay. Are your hands clean? Yeah, my hands are clean. That's not the one I'm worried about. Oh, well, forget about that. My hands are clean. You know that. Just asking. Okay. So if you're done fooling around now, let's move on. Yes, we have been reading the stories of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov by Adam, retold by Adam Steinsaltz. But you know, with all the things that are going on out in the world, there's a lot of scary things. Yeah, scary things being talked about constantly. So we kind of came up with an idea. I came up with an idea. Okay. You came up with an idea. And Zeta's idea was that we pause in the stories of Rabbi Nachman and we switch over to the next book that we were going to read, which is called The Silly World of Helm. That's right, The Silly World of Helm. Just something to enjoy and get a laugh at, and you know, kind of get our minds off of this craziness, at least for an hour, at least. Yes. And I got to tell stories on Shabbat. Yes, you did get to tell stories on Shabbat. Yeah, it was. You told the three stories that are always told. It's a segula that are told in the time coming up to Pesach. There's the water barrels. There's the let's see. We had the one about the water barrels. Oh, the King's Ring. That was a good one. Yeah, that was a good one. Let's see. And then we had, what was the next one that we had? It's a good thing you kept that. Yeah, it is a good thing that I kept that. If I can actually get the pages apart from each other. Yeah, we had the water barrels, the King's Ring, and the Porridge and the Monkey. Yeah, the Porridge and the Monkey. Yeah, my favorite one. Yeah, I know it's your favorite one. So let's see. We've had more people who have joined us. Let's see. We have Shoshi and hopefully Shlomo and Marshall, Donald and David Berger. Good to have you, David. Let's see. Miriam and Kelsey Lynn and the rest that we had already talked about, and so let's get on with the stories. Okay, let's get on with the stories. The Silly World of Helm, and we'll get you onto your camera. And there I am, folks. Okay, so we are going to read, at least until this kind of craziness gets over, we are going to read The Silly World of Helm so that we can get our minds off of it and we can kind of laugh, at least for a little bit. Okay, Keta has joined us too. Ah, okay. Okay, so This first story from the silly world of Chelm, and we should probably talk about who actually wrote. Yes, we probably should. So let me skip back here, and it is. It's a lot of stories. Yes, there is a tremendous amount of stories in here. Some are very short, some are a little bit longer. But this was, it was written by Shepsel and Abraham. And no last name? Yeah, that doesn't seem to have any last name on it. Let's see if I can find something here. No. That is, it's just Shipsel and Abraham, and that's all it says. Well, at least it has a name, or at least a couple of names, so that we can go on from there. Okay. Now you have to find your place again. Yes, I do have to find my place again. So here we go. Okay. So this is called a fish story. Progress became important in the village of Chelm. So Shipsel decided to open a restaurant. He opened a little shop in the center of town and put in all the latest cooking devices so that his would be the most modern restaurant in the village. You know, Helm was actually a very important village. Yes, we know that. Okay, so since Helm was located near the Verschlugen River, fresh fish was no problem. Shipsel prided himself in cooking the most delicious fish in the little village. He made flounder taste like chicken and gefilte fish taste like steak, which would be quite a trick. Yeah, I know, yeah. I know your father did not like gefilte fish. Yeah, no, my father did not like gefilte fish. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, back to the story. One day, Lemech, the town's only shoelace salesman, came in for dinner. He was all smiles. Today, I would like to have a nice piece of flounder, he announced to Shipsel, who stood ready to take his order. Shipsel disappeared into the kitchen, and in a few moments came out with a piece of flounder on a plate. "Here you are, my friend," he exclaimed proudly. As Lemech leaned over the plate, he pulled back in shock. "This fish does not smell fresh," he shouted indignantly. Shipsel ran to his side and smelled the fish. "My friend, there is nothing wrong with the fish." "I don't know," sighed Lemech. "Something doesn't smell so good." Shipsel smiled warmly. "Ha ha! It's not the fish you smell. It's me." Lemech smiled uneasily and prepared to cut a piece of the fish as Shipsel withdrew to the kitchen. Lemech cut the fish and took one bite. "Gavolt!" he screamed as he spat out the piece of fish. Shipsel came running from the kitchen. "What is it, my friend?" I took one bite of this fish and it is terrible, he shouted, almost in tears. This fish is stale. Shipsel picked up the plate, looked at the fish curiously. It's impossible. This fish cannot be stale. Don't you remember you ate here 2 weeks ago and you praised my fish? You licked the plate. Wait a minute, Lamech exclaimed. That piece of fish was fresh. Well, Shipsel shrugged, how can you complain now? This is from the very same fish. Okay, so we go on, huh? I see Marshall has joined us. Good to have you, Marshall. Okay. This next story is called A Portion of Paradise. Reb Motel and Reb Yosel were two of the most pious men in all of Chelm. They were also among its leading citizens. So it was an event when they went to the sage of Chelm, the wisest man of all, to ask him a question. Dear sage, Reb Motel began, we have a question. The old sage listened intently. According to the ethics of our father, that is Pirkei Avot, it says, every member of Israel has a share in the world to come. Kol Yisrael Yish Lohem Hechlech Leolam Habo. The old sage smiled warmly and said, Indeed, that is true. But what has this to do with your question? Reb Yosel smiled uneasily and asked, Dear sage, you see, I am a Kohen, and my friend Motel is a Levi. The question is, why does Scripture say Kol Yisrael? Aren't those of us who are Kohanim and Leviim also entitled to special consideration? The old sage stroked his beard pensively. Then, in keeping with the highest standards of the village of Chelm, he went into deep thought. See, that's my deep thought look. Do I look like I'm in deep thought? I thought so. Okay. Suddenly, a smile crossed his countenance. My friends, he began, placing his arms about the shoulders of each of the two men, the Kohanim and the Leviim are indeed such holy and special people that one must not even pronounce their names. So when it says Kol Yisrael, the K of Kol really stands for Kohanim, and the L in Kol really stands for Leviim. Reb Motel looked at Reb Yosel and smiled, crossed each other's faces, and they were very pleased. Oh, what brilliance! And until this very day, the Kohanim and the Leviim of the village of Helm walk around with their heads held high, with a wonderful inner feeling, knowing that the very special seat awaits them in a very special reserved section of the world to come. And this is the feeling the Helmites have given to all Jews. So there. Okay. Our next story, a stone in the road. You know, many of these stories in here I have never heard of before. And I've heard a lot of stories about Helm. Okay. You're actually from Helm. No, let's not start that whole thing about my aunt and Helm and all that stuff. Let's just go on with the... Okay, don't get your knickers in a knot, huh? Okay, we go on. What? Well, nothing. A stone in the road. Once upon a time, in the silly world of Helm, a stonemason was driving his cart loaded with stones through the streets of the village. As the wagon went over a bump, one of the huge stones fell from the cart into the middle of the road. Of course, the stonemason did not hear the stone fall and continued on his merry way. A short time later, a soldier was driving his cart down the very same street. The stone blocked his way, and he wondered, now, what is such a huge stone doing in the middle of the road? Of course, our noble community is going to build some sort of monument to our war heroes. Isn't that wonderful? Indeed, I am proud. He pulled the reins tightly and drove the wagon around the stone. Later, a road builder was driving his wagon down the street when he came to this stone in the road. What could this stone be doing in the roadway? Seeing the tracks from the previous wagon, he went around the boulder. He thought, I guess our community is really growing. Now they are going to widen the road. Isn't that encouraging? It is a good thing I build roads, and I can understand such things. I am indeed proud to be part of such a growing community. He too pulled his horse to the side and went around the boulder. A little later, a peddler found his way down the street and came to the stone in the road. Here! What is this? A stone in the center of town? Oh, I see. They are probably building an auction block for us peddlers to sell our wares. Indeed, this is a thriving community. Yes, they look into the future. I am indeed proud to be part of this progress. He too pulled his wagon to one side and went around the boulder. Later on, A schoolteacher was returning from a trip, and his wagon came upon, you guessed it, the boulder in the road. Now look at this. A stone in the road. Of course, now I understand. They are going to build a new school in Helm. And of course, before they can build a school, they must set a cornerstone for the foundation. What a wonderful community! I am indeed proud. And so it was. As each tradesman and professional passed down the street and saw the stone, each found another reason to be proud. The doctor, returning from a call, saw the stone and was certain the community was going to build a hospital. The lawyer was certain that it had to be a courthouse. The rabbi was positive his congregation was going to surprise him with a new shul. Each saw the boulder as something else, but always something to be proud of. Each felt that progress was being made in their little village, and expressed such joy for being part of the progress. Well, the very next day, there was a parade in the center of town. As the marchers came upon the stone in the road, they stopped and wondered what the stone was doing in the middle of the road. The soldier stepped forward and smiled. He can easily see that some kind of monument is being built to honor our war heroes. The road builder smiled patronizingly and declared, I appreciate your understanding, but, my dear friend, since I build roads, I can readily see that a furrow has been cut around the rock by wagon wheels, and that means they are going to widen the road. The school teacher smiled knowingly. Gentlemen, you are both wrong. Can't you see this is the type of stone that is used for laying the foundation stone for schools? Of course, this is where our new school is going to be located. The doctor stepped forward and smiled. My friends, those are all noble thoughts. But can't you see? This is where our new hospital is going to be built. The lawyer nodded in disbelief. My friends, this is where our new courthouse is going to be built. Anyone can tell that you build a courthouse in the center of town, and this is the spot. The controversy continued to rage. Finally, one small child in the parade shouted, Why don't we ask the sage of Helm? And so the delegation from the parade ran to the home of the old sage of Helm. Dear sage, they began, there is a huge rock right in the middle of our roadway. We know it is the beginning of something exciting. Can you tell us what is going to be built? The old sage scratched his head and said, Why the stone was placed in the middle of the road is unimportant now that the stone is missing. However, the answer to your question is obvious. You have to understand that when a large stone is cut out of a mountain and placed in the middle of a road, if it should rain the very next day, the stone will shrink. That is why there are always pebbles on the road. Once those pebbles were all huge stones. I'm going to pause. I just let that sink in for a moment, eh? Everyone marveled at the wisdom of the great sage. The doctor, lawyer, the teacher, and the soldier thought to themselves, "Indeed, how lucky we are to have begun a building with a stone that shrinks when it rains." Okay. This next story, and then we take a break, okay? Okay, this story is called A Visit to the Doctor. Once upon a time, in the little village of Chelm, the old sage was not feeling well and was convinced he should visit a famous doctor in Minsk. The doctor welcomed the old-timer and examined him carefully. After all the tests, he sat down with the old sage and asked, "Tell me, my friend, do you drink wine or whiskey?" The old sage smiled uneasily and replied, "Of course I do. Not much. Maybe a glass or two a day. It keeps the old bones warm on these freezing days." The doctor sighed uneasily. "And tell me, do you smoke your pipe?" The old sage nodded. "Not as much as I used to. But I smoke my pipe a goodly number of times during the day." The doctor shook his head sadly. "Well, all I can tell you is that you have to stop drinking too much wine and whiskey, and you must stop smoking tobacco if you expect to live out your years." The old sage did not say a word. He dressed himself quickly and started to walk over to the doctor's office. "Excuse me, old sage," the doctor exclaimed, "but you forgot to pay me. You see, my fee is 20 kopecks." The old sage turned indignantly and asked, "And what must I pay you for?" "You must pay me for my advice to you. After all, advice is my stock and trade." The old-timer continued to walk out the door, but the doctor ran after him. "Please, my friend, let us not make a scene. You must pay me." "For what?" shouted the old sage. "For my advice," shouted back the doctor. "Ah," sighed the old sage. "So who's taking it?" Okay, so we are going to take our break here. And when we come back, we will pick up with Beryl the Terrible. Okay, so everybody stay tuned. We'll be back in 6.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's intermission time, folks, so hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies, everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 5 minutes. The show starts in 4 minutes. The show starts in 3 minutes. The show starts in 2 minutes. show starts in 1 minute. And now, on with the show.
And we are back. Okay. So, let us find out about this barrel the terrible, huh? Okay. Once upon a time, I bet you didn't see that coming, huh? Once upon a time, in the silly world of Helm, there was a Helmite known as Beryl the Terrible. He would sneak around the village during the day, and whenever he would see a child eating a piece of candy, he would snatch the candy and run away. The children would cry, but no one could ever catch Beryl the Terrible. Finally, one day, while he was running, he tripped and was caught. It was like an angry lynch mob. They marched him to the home of the sage of Helm, who was to give him his punishment. Once inside the sage's home, the trial began. "Why did you take the candy from helpless children?" questioned the sage. "I am but a poor and humble man," Beryl the Terrible began. "When I saw the good others in our community did, I felt bad, because I, with my limited resources and limited knowledge, could not do such good and wondrous deeds. So I hit upon a plan. I had learned in the big city from a very fine doctor that candy is very bad for children. It hurts their teeth, it makes them sticky, and dirties their faces. So I decided to help by making it my business to go throughout the village of Helm day and night, many times going without sleep for days, to take candy away from children. This I did to save them from getting ill. For this, I am now captured and treated like a common criminal?" Everyone listened carefully. Finally, the sage of Helm turned to the jury and said, "How badly we have treated this poor soul. Here is a man whose only interest who only has the interest of our children at heart, and we treat him like a common criminal? Let us all apologize to this wonderful man, because he has given us a new insight into how to save the children's health. Instead of punishing him, let each of us send him a gift. Indeed, he has taught us a great lesson in health. And so, the sage of Helm, who was a poor man himself, took the shirt off his back and gave it to Beryl the Terrible. Everyone seeing this soon brought gifts, for, after all, if the great sage felt this way, they were certain they had misjudged Beryl the Terrible, who then became Beryl the Respectable. So, one day someone shouted, "The bank is being robbed!" "Woe is to us," they cried. "All our money has been stolen. What are we to do?" Then one of the Helmites stepped forward and said he had seen Beryl the Terrible, now called Beryl the Respectable, climbing through the bank window the night before. "I saw him carrying out bags of gold," the Helmite said. Everyone raced to the home of Beryl the Respectable. Sure enough, on his table stood bags of gold that had been taken from the bank. The angry crowd grabbed him and marched him again to the home of the sage of Helm for trial. "You have been accused of stealing all the money from the bank," the sage began. "Why did you do such a thing?" Beryl smiled nervously and said, "I did it to save the gold from being stolen. If the money remained in the bank, the poor people of Helm would have to draw it out to pay their taxes to the Tsar. When I took the money, I was actually saving it for them. As soon as the Tsar would hear of the theft and that there was no money left in the village of Helm, he would forget about us and never bother us again. Once this happened, I was going to distribute the money to everyone equally. So you see, all I did was to save the money of the people of Helm. And now they treat me as if I were a common criminal?" He began to sob, and everyone felt bad. "What fools we have been! What a wonderful man he is! Look how he looked out for our interest," they muttered softly, trying to comfort him. "We apologize," they exclaimed. "Please, forgive us." Beryl thought for a moment, then said, "I will forgive you on one condition, that you provide me with the fastest horse and wagon in all of Helm, so I can take the money away before the Tsar finds out I have it." And so it was. They hitched up the fastest horse and wagon in all of Helm, and even helped him load the bags of gold onto the wagon. And off he went in a cloud of dust, never to be seen or heard from again. To this day, the people of Helm worship the memory of Beryl the Respectable, because somewhere, someplace, they believe he is still in the mountain guarding and hiding their money. Okay. We go on to the next story, eh? The people of Helm were very good people. Yeah, they were very good people. So when the old sage of Helm went to the wealthy merchant of Minsk for a donation to help the poor, he was shocked when the merchant refused to give him a kopeck. Reb Chaim, the old sage of Helm, explained, "Do my ears deceive me? You are telling me that you refuse to make a donation so that we can continue helping the poor?" Reb Chaim shook his head. "That is true. But why? Have you lost your fortune?" the old sage questioned in amazement. "No, I have not lost my fortune, but I have decided not to help the poor anymore," he explained. "But why?" pleaded the old sage. "Well," Reb Chaim began, "the other day I read in the newspaper that a beggar had died. When he went through his clothes, they found thousands of rubles. Therefore, I believe it is useless to spend money on the poor because they are already rich." The old sage leaned back in his chair and exclaimed, "Surely you have seen poor people try to appear rich. They will wear costly clothes and go to fancy places." "Of course," exclaimed the rich man. "Then, if one rich man wants to appear poor, and he dresses like a beggar, is it right to blame the poor for this man's foolishness?" Reb Chaim nodded that he understood. And so, till this very day in the village of Helm, when a rich man asks for money, it is gladly given, because they believe he is probably a poor man with a strange foolishness, who wants to look like a rich man. Okay, this is a good one. Chicken planting time. For all you farmers out there, you all know when chicken planting time is, right? Okay, we find out. Once upon a time, in the little village of Helm, Mendel the farmer came into the village with his little cart and purchased 200 baby chickens. "Ah, it is good to see you again," smiled Chaim, the chicken farmer. "I see you are going to raise chickens." "Oh, yes, indeed. I am raising a great many vegetables, and now I feel I am ready to raise chickens." Chaim selected some adorable little chickens and placed them on Mendel's little cart. Mendel was very pleased and drove away, singing merrily to himself. A few weeks later, Mendel the farmer was back in the village of Helm. He went to the farmer of Chaim and announced, "I have come to purchase another 200 chicks." "Oh, it is a pleasure to see you, my friend," said Chaim. He loaded up the chicks on the tiny cart, and Mendel was on his way once more. A few weeks later, Mendel was back in town once more to purchase yet another 200 chicks. Chaim the chicken farmer was a little concerned. Look, my friend, aren't you biting off a little more than you can handle? I have already sold you 400 chicks, and now you want another 200? Do you really think you can care for them all? Mendel sighed sadly. The 400 chicks are gone, poor souls. That is why I need 200 more. Gone? Chaim gasped. What happened? I don't really know, sighed Mendel. Maybe I'm planting them a little too close together. Okay. That's probably it. Planting them too close together. Yep. That's got to be the reason, huh? Okay. This next story is called Giving Thanks. Monday, in the little village of Chelm, was the traditional wash day. The woman would gather up their family's clothes, place them in basket, and go down to the little stream that ran right by the village. Once at the stream, they would soak the clothes in the water and then search for a large flat stone. They would place the clothes on the stone and begin to beat them with a flat stick to work out all the grime caked within the fibers of the cloth. One day, Moshe, the chimney sweeper, happened to pass the stream where the women were doing laundry. He saw how they soaked the clothing in the gentle stream, and they began to beat the clothing mercilessly on the stone to remove the dirt. Suddenly, he saw his wife approach the stream. She was washing his heavily soiled shirt. She soaked the shirt for a few minutes, then began to beat it with a stick on a flat stone surface. Gewalt! Screamed the Moshe. I must see the old sage immediately. He ran to the home of the old sage and breathlessly exclaimed, For what have I just seen? I must ask you for a special prayer of thanks, he exclaimed. What did you see? Pleaded the old sage. I saw my wife soaking my shirt, then beating it mercilessly with a stick. No? So why do you want a blessing of thanks? Asked the old sage. Why? Sighed Moshe. Do you realize what would have happened if I hadn't decided to change my clothing this morning? I want a blessing of thanks to the Lord for giving me the foresight to change my shirt before my wife began beating it. Indeed, agreed the old sage. A blessing is called for. He then raised his hands in prayer. We thank the Lord for giving you the wisdom to know when to change your shirt, and also because he gave you the wisdom to come to me so that I could warn all the others in our village to do the same. Okay. Okay, we do one more and then we will call it a day, huh? Okay. So, this story is called How to Bury a Hole. One day, the people of Helm gathered in the village. The time has come for us to build another shul for our village. The old one is bursting at its seams, and besides, it is in great need of repair, one of the elders declared. That is true, said another, but where shall we build our new shul? Indeed, a problem, said another. Why not build it directly across the street from our old shul? Asked the old sage, the wisest man in all of Helm. Why there? They all asked. It's simple. If it should rain, and everyone knows the roof of the old shul leaks, everyone could run outside to the new shul and will be just across the street. How brilliant, shouted one. What wisdom, shouted another. What thoughtfulness, shouted a third. But I have a question, dear sage, one of the elders called out. If we dig a hole in the ground for the foundation of the new shul, where will we put the earth that will be taken out of the ground? This was indeed a problem. And so they all turned to the sage and waited for his answer. See, that's what they do. They lean forward to listen. Okay. It is a simple question. All we have to do is dig another hole to put the earth in, he explained quite innocently. But, persisted the elder, where will we put the earth we removed from the second hole that we will be digging? The sage stroked his beard in deep thought, then smiled warmly. That too has a simple solution. We will dig a third hole twice as big as the first and place the earth from the second hole in that hole. How brilliant, they all shouted. How marvelous, they commented. And so, that is how the people of Helm built their new shul. You know, that kind of sounds like a out of Cool Hand Luke, you know? Why is your dirt in those boss hog's yard, huh? Okay, well, I don't think we have to go into Cool Hand Luke and all that stuff. No, but I'm just saying, yeah, okay, I get it. Okay, so anyway, this is where we will stop for tonight. I hope you all enjoyed the stories from the silly world of Helm, and hope you will come back next week for more stories. Don't forget, on Wednesday night, that there will be the Torah study with Rabbi A. and Rabbi Reuven at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then Friday we start a new Sefer on Friday, Vayikra. And Friday night, Kabbalat and Ma'ariv, the Shabbat service at 8 p.m. Eastern. And of course, Shabbat morning at 10 a.m., Shachrit and Musaf. Until then, my dear friends, we shall say, Laila Tov.